Hello everyone, and welcome to History of the Ancient World. Have you ever wondered why the first great civilizations all popped up in seemingly random places? It wasn't random at all. There's a common thread that ties them all together, a life-giving force that dictated where humanity would lay its first foundations. That thread is water, specifically mighty rivers. Today, we're journeying back in time to explore how four legendary river valleys became the cradles of civilization. From the fertile banks of the Nile to the unpredictable floods of the Tigris and Euphrates, from the sprawling Indus Valley to the legendary Yellow River, we'll uncover how these waterways shaped everything from farming and trade to religion and government. So grab your explorer's hat and let's dive into the story of how rivers created our ancient world. Our first stop is ancient Egypt, a civilization famously called the Gift of the Nile. And it's no exaggeration. This incredible river, stretching over 4,000 miles, was the absolute lifeline of the Egyptian people. Imagine a vast desert, hot and unforgiving. Then, slicing right through it, is this ribbon of life. Every year, like clockwork, the Nile would flood, depositing a layer of rich black silt onto its banks. This wasn't just mud, it was a natural fertilizer that made the land incredibly fertile. The Egyptians called this fertile land Kemet, the Black Land, and it's where they grew all their food, wheat for bread, barley for beer, and flax for clothing. Without this predictable annual flood, large-scale agriculture in the desert would have been impossible. The Nile was so predictable that the Egyptians based their entire calendar on it. The season of inundation, the season of growth, and the season of harvest. This reliability gave them a sense of stability and order, a cosmic harmony that was reflected in their art, religion, and worldview. The river wasn't just a source of water, it was the source of life itself, a god to be revered and respected. But the Nile was more than just a giant farm. It was also a superhighway. In a land with difficult desert terrain, the river was the fastest and most efficient way to travel and transport goods. Heavy stones for building pyramids and temples, grain from the fertile south to feed the cities in the north, trade goods, armies, and royal processions. Everything moved along the Nile. This ease of transportation helped unify Upper and Lower Egypt into a single powerful kingdom. The pharaoh could control a vast territory because his commands and his tax collectors could travel swiftly along the river. This interconnectedness fostered a shared culture and a strong central government, which were key to Egypt's long-lasting stability. The river also provided other resources. Papyrus reeds growing on its banks were turned into one of the world's first forms of paper, allowing them to record their history, laws, and literature. The muddy banks provided clay for pottery and bricks. The river was, in every sense, the backbone of their civilization. Now let's travel east to Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers. The two rivers here are the Tigris and the Euphrates. Unlike the gentle and predictable Nile, these rivers were wild and unpredictable. Their floods could be sudden, violent, and destructive, wiping out crops and settlements without warning. This constant struggle against the elements shaped a very different worldview for the Mesopotamians. While the Egyptians saw order and harmony in their world, the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians saw a world of chaos and conflict, where they were at the mercy of moody, unpredictable gods. Their epic poems, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, even feature a catastrophic flood sent by the gods to wipe out humanity. This challenging environment forced them to become brilliant innovators. To control the unruly rivers, they developed some of the world's first and most complex irrigation systems. They built canals, dikes, and reservoirs to manage the water, divert it to their fields, and protect their cities from flooding. This massive effort of water management had a profound social and political impact. Building and maintaining these large-scale irrigation networks required immense cooperation and organization. You couldn't just have one farmer digging a ditch. Entire communities had to work together. This need for coordinated labor led to the rise of the world's first cities, like Uruk and Ur. With cities came the need for laws, administration, and leaders to manage these complex projects and settle disputes over water rights. So, in a way, the very act of taming the Tigris and Euphrates led to the invention of government and urban living. Furthermore, the surplus of food produced by this irrigated agriculture allowed people to specialize in other jobs. Instead of everyone being a farmer, some could become priests, scribes, artisans, and soldiers. This division of labor is a hallmark of civilization, and in Mesopotamia, it was born from the struggle to control water. It's also here, to keep track of grain harvests and trade, that they invented writing, cuneiform, one of humanity's greatest achievements. Next, we sail to the Indian subcontinent, to the Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization. Flourishing around the same time as Egypt and Mesopotamia, this civilization was built along the Indus River and its network of tributaries. Like the others, the Indus River provided fertile land for agriculture, supporting a massive population across a huge area, larger than either Egypt or Mesopotamia. They grew wheat, barley, and notably cotton, which they wove into cloth and traded widely. But what makes the Indus Valley so fascinating is what we don't know. We haven't deciphered their writing system, so their story is told through archaeology, and what it tells us is incredible. The ruins of their major cities, like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, reveal a level of urban planning that was unparalleled in the ancient world. The cities were laid out in a grid pattern, with wide streets and a clear division between public and residential areas. And here's where the river's influence shines through in a unique way. Their mastery of water engineering was astonishing. Nearly every house in Mohenjo-Daro had its own private bathroom and access to a well. Wastewater was channeled out of the home through covered drains that ran along the streets, all connecting to a larger, sophisticated sewage system. This focus on sanitation and water management is mind-boggling for a civilization that existed over 4,000 years ago. They also built large public baths, the most famous being the Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro, which was likely used for religious rituals involving water purification. This obsession with cleanliness and the careful management of water suggests that the river played a central role not just in their economy, but also in their cultural and religious life. The river was a source of both physical and spiritual purity. The sheer organization required for these systems points to a strong, centralized authority that governed these cities. Our final destination is ancient China, where civilization rose along the banks of the Yellow River, or Huanghe. The river gets its name from the fine yellow silt called loess that it carries from the highlands. Like the Nile silt, this loess is incredibly fertile and made agriculture possible in the North China Plain. This is where early Chinese dynasties like the Shang and Zhou first emerged, cultivating millet, wheat, and rice. But the Yellow River also has a much more ominous nickname, China's Sorrow. Similar to the Tigris and Euphrates, its floods were notoriously powerful and destructive. The river often changed its course dramatically, inundating vast areas of farmland and destroying communities. This constant threat of devastation deeply influenced Chinese philosophy and political thought. Early legends tell of a heroic figure, Yu the Great, who succeeded in taming the floods not by building dams to block them, but by dredging channels to guide the water to the sea. This story is highly symbolic. It established a powerful ideal for Chinese rulers. Their primary duty was to maintain order and harmony between humanity and nature. A ruler's legitimacy, the mandate of heaven, was tied to their ability to control the river and prevent disasters. If a dynasty was plagued by floods, it was seen as a sign that the ruler had lost the mandate of heaven and could be overthrown. This created a strong incentive for the state to mobilize massive amounts of labor for huge public works projects, like building dikes and canals that have been a feature of Chinese governance for thousands of years. The river, therefore, was not just a challenge to be overcome. It was the force that forged the very concept of a centralized, bureaucratic Chinese state, responsible for the welfare of its people and the management of the land. So, from the predictable Nile to the sorrowful Yellow River, we can see a clear pattern. These great rivers were the lifeblood of the ancient world. They offered the fertile soil needed for agriculture, which created food surpluses and allowed populations to grow. They served as highways for trade, communication, and unification. But they also presented immense challenges: floods, droughts, and the need for management that spurred innovation. The struggle to control water led to the development of engineering, mathematics, writing, government, and law. It shaped the very religions and worldviews of these first civilizations, defining their relationship with the gods and the natural world. In the end, the story of ancient civilization is inseparable from the story of its rivers. They were the cradles that rocked humanity into existence. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey down the rivers of time. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. What other connections between geography and history would you like to explore? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to History of the Ancient World and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.